They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is...
Morning somewhere!
For July 22nd, 2024. My name is Bertie Burns, sitting right over there. What's going on with the music? Is the music lower for you today?
It is a little bit.
What's up with that?
I don't know.
Why are you so low, music? You having a bad weekend? What happened? I'll figure it out.
It's been partying.
It won't matter to people because I will fix that in post, as they say. Fix it in post.
It's been partying. Keep it quiet. Please keep it down. Just shh.
So on Friday, before I went off on my wildly successful fishing trip, I caught a fish.
Can we post the picture of the fish?
Yeah, it was kind of, I wanted to do the whole Tinder profile pic, and the quote-unquote first fish I caught, the opportunity went by because I didn't have the right tool on me at the moment to like remove the fish hook, and I was being really careful because it was a salmon, and we're really careful with those, and it was a female salmon, and so we wanted to get it back in the water as fast as possible, and I was trying to get the hook out with my hands.
Yeah.
And didn't want to like distress the fish or anything like that. So JD ran up to the fishing hut to get my forceps to remove it. It was a funny generational moment where he ran off. He's like, I was like, I just want to get this out. I said, but my forceps are just sitting on the porch, and I left him up there. And he goes, I can go get them. And I said, no, I think I can get this. And he's like, I can go get them. And I said, you know what? Okay, run and grab him real quick. Thank you. And he goes, okay. And he goes running off. And then it took a long time, longer than I felt like it should. And I finally just like, sometimes you can just move the hook in like one little way and boop, it just pops right out, you know? I wasn't trying to force it or anything.
Just like you like turn it to the side or something and just something works.
It more often happens when the fish is still in the water and you're trying to bring it in, just pops out. But again, then I let the fish go, before JD got back to take a photo or anything like that. And when he got back, I said, I go, that seemed like it took a while. I go, why did it take so long? And he goes, I couldn't get a signal. And I said, a signal? And he goes, yeah, I had to look up what forceps were. I was like, you could have asked that question on your way out.
Everybody knows what forceps are, as in nurse forceps. They're the forceps, obviously. Okay, you're going to have to correct me on this. I'm picturing scissor-like things?
You got it.
Okay. All right. Nailed it in one.
It's basically like a pair of tweezers that have like a scissor handle on the end. So
okay.
It's like, it's nothing, it's nothing bladed.
Long handle scissor type things.
Yeah, it lets you grab the little hook and you just pop it out. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. The fish was good. It's really a nice moment because it's salmon's a long fight. And so when you go to put the fish, back in, she was in the water pretty much the whole time. But then when you go to put them back in, you kind of hold them like underneath, like kind of support them a little bit. And then they get the water upstream and they get their gills. And then she was just sitting there like next to me, like in the water. I could see her.
She's probably just going, what the fuck was that?
Got a little rest.
What just happened?
Off she goes back upstream. Off she goes. But yeah, so it was, and I always thought in the back of my head, well, this is Friday. I'll catch one more fish. I didn't catch another fish. So didn't have a chance for my Tinder profile. But if people are curious about my beautiful fish, I will post on my social today. I'll post something in the net is what I got. So,
nice.
Yeah. So successful trip. That is the least relevant news ever we could lead with on this podcast, by the way.
I'm sorry. Did we bury the lead?
We did a little bit. We'll have a link in the linked up to forceps if you want to research that. But when I was heading out the door on Friday, we woke up to news. For us, the CrowdStrike news broke we woke up. It would have been 1 a.m, I guess, for most people in the U.S. or thereabouts, the middle of the night. And we were reading stories about every plane in United Airlines, Delta, and American's fleet had been grounded globally, but nobody knew what it was yet.
You wake me up, by the way, for the weirdest shit.
I do wake you up for the weirdest shit.
You'll roll over, you shake me, and I'm like, what? And you're like, this thing just happened. I'm like, awesome. And I just go back to sleep. And you woke me up to tell me that United Airlines and what was the other airline had issued a full
Delta and American. Yeah.
Delta and American had issued a full ground stop.
Yep.
And I was like, oh,
nothing is flying.
I was like, well, I don't have a flight. Okay, I'm going back to sleep.
But that's big news.
It is big news. But you know how I am when I'm tired. I care about two things: is the bed on fire?
Yeah.
And can I go back to sleep anyway?
And we determined whatever this is, by the time people get it 5 or 6 hours later, it's going to be completely different information. And it was. We would not have, who knows what we would have guessed.
Right.
We probably wouldn't have guessed that the world's antivirus software that for some reason everybody uses decided to bring down everyone's computers.
Well, it's not just that everyone uses it. So what happened is this CrowdStrike is an antivirus, as Bernie said, but it's
On paper.
on paper. But what it did is they issued an update, and this update broke a critical Windows file. So Windows would blue screen, and then you couldn't boot it back up. So what you had to do to fix this issue, and this is one of these things that developed over the course of several hours as we figured out what the hell was going on, is that you had to go in like a DOS prompt, and you had to use prompts to go in and delete this corrupted file that CrowdStrike had fucked up. Now, the reason that you heard about it on a global level, because this would have been annoying to anyone, that would be annoying to me. I can't imagine explaining it to my mother. But then you also have, corporate systems where they have protections in place to stop people doing things like deleting files via prompts, right? Because that could cause a lot of problems. So this was the war of the grungy sneaker IT guys,
Yeah.
right? This was the war that they were putting on their face paint, and they were wading into it. Every single one of those machines had to be fixed manually. It took down shipping. It took down all the planes. It took down.
Well, it didn't take down the planes, but
not
yeah.
the planes themselves. It took down their systems. So people were some airlines were issuing manual tickets for people to be able to fly because it was their ticketing system that was affected. It was insane. I think a bunch of delivery services, all kinds of corporate facilities were just down. Services were the antivirus software broke it all.
Well, the interesting thing is this is exactly what they talked about was going to happen for Y2K, and it never happened. We were prepared for that 24 years ago.
Y2K224.
EA Sports. Damn, I felt really bad. And we knew a lot of people in IT, and I saw a lot of social media posts from people who were just like, yep, I'm up at 4 a.m. Here I go, gonna go wading into this and see what it's like. And especially in today's environment too, you think about how many data centers there are where there's maybe one person in them, if that even, where they'd have to go around to all those remote systems and reboot them all. I wonder if the work from home environment made this worse or better for people.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one because you couldn't exactly fix your laptop. You'd have to take it in somewhere, right? This is probably not going to surprise you, Bernie, but the CrowdStrike stock is down a little bit.
Is it really?
Down about 11%, yeah.
11% for causing a global outage. That's impossible. It's got to be more than that.
You'd think so, but I'll post this stock in the link dump because it's at least funny. You can see exactly when it happened because it's a cliff.
11% doesn't seem like enough.
It doesn't for that, no. Especially because there are probably so many other companies that wiped more from their market cap just from the inconvenience than this company's entire market cap put together.
I think Tesla drops 30% if Elon Musk takes a big deep breath in. It's uh-oh, he's about to say something. The stock tanked.
Oh no, he's going to talk. Sell.
They had to halt trading on it. Yeah, but one of the gleaming rays of sunshine in this whole thing is that Southwest Airlines was okay because according to their own social media, their IT is run off of a one single Commodore 64 in a warehouse somewhere in Dallas.
So you're welcome, world.
That might have been a parody one, but it was really funny either way. Southwest has had very cheeky advertising in the past. But I can't help but think, too, that, you talk about walking people through and doing these prompts. There probably are a lot of, your lowest level users who were probably okay because they don't run their updates and they don't know to run their updates or somehow got around them, right?
Right. Or they're like, antivirus software, nah.
That's how they get you. But in other kind of big news in the world over the course of the weekend, not to be a conspiracy theorist, Ashley, but the world's antivirus software went down. Then the Democratic presidential candidate gets a virus? What a coincidence. I don't think so. Anyway, Joe Biden dropped out of the race, but he specifically said in his memo or announcement, he said that he would not be accepting the nomination for the Democratic Party. He didn't say anything about COVID. There was a lot of speculation. is that the COVID thing was to set up him dropping out for health reasons or whatever. He just said he wanted to focus on his presidential duties for the remainder of his term and that he wouldn't be accepting the nomination, which is very specific language, which I think is important.
I agree. So, I mean, because the incumbent, which he is the de facto nominee for their party.
Typically,
right?
But
Typically.
not necessarily, but typically, yeah.
So this is kind of unprecedented that he is the de facto nominee going up to this point. They're actually coming up to, I think, a deadline for a couple of states to even get on the ballot.
He's the first one since Lyndon Johnson.
Oh, really?
To not run again. Yeah.
And so, this is kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal, regardless of your views on the guy. It's a big deal, historically speaking. And now the Democratic Party is going to have to scramble and get their new candidate in place and in the spotlight and pump them up, while I think the Republicans are just going, what? Okay. It's kind of, this is a wild card.
Regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, you have to acknowledge how wildly impactful that debate was. That one debate, it completely changed this election entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, was it Dan Quayle not being able to spell potatoes?
Or, we just played a clip from Bush at the beginning of this. Like anytime somebody does a flub or something, it would just get like hammered into the ground. Or I always think about Gary Hart, who was
he the one with the laugh?
No, that was Howard Dean, and it was like, yeah, that was another one too. But like Gary Hart was a candidate in the mid '80s, and he got a picture of him with a woman on his lap in front of a boat that said "Monkey Business." Done. Just like
that was
done.
it.
And then you fast
How
forward,
times have changed.
Yeah, you fast forward 10 years from that, and they're holding up Gap dresses with stains on them in Congress. You know what I mean? The world changed really, really fast, didn't it, Howard Dean? Anyway, so Biden's out. This will be just dissected, and you'll, of course, go to whatever political news outlet that you like best to hear the thing that you like best. So just numbers-wise, there's some interesting things here, I think. First of all, we've got, 3.5 months before this election, and we don't know who one of the current incumbent party's presidential candidate is. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, which for a lot of the world, that's not an unusual timeline for political runs. But for the U.S., it is pretty unprecedented. You usually know minimum 6 months in advance, like who's the guy.
God. Those
right?
presidential cycles seem like they go on for 2 years sometimes, I mean, think about even just the Supreme Court nominations. Like, we can't nominate a Supreme Court nominee because
it's an election year.
There's going to be a presidential election in like 18 months or something like that. It's insane. It goes on forever for us, or for the U.S. I meant the capital U. But the other thing is, big debate going forward, and I think it'll be a huge point of discussion, is what happens to the nearly $250 million that the Biden campaign has raised. And they had a record-setting July so far because of the announcement that Biden is dropping out. What happens to those campaign funds? Do they go straight to who the next nominee is? And the answer to that is,
sort of.
Maybe?
It depends, but it depends very much on who is on the ticket, it sounds like. So if Kamala Harris is on the ticket, then the new campaign can have the funds, because she is also on the current campaign.
She's on the FEC filings for it. Her name is on there.
Yes.
And
so
to be clear, she doesn't have to be the presidential nominee. There's some people who are saying she could still remain on the ticket as the VP nominee, and that would open those funds up to the new presidential candidate.
Right. But she would have to be on the ticket for the new campaign to directly get the funds. Otherwise, as I understand it, I think Biden would have to just turn all the campaign funds over to the Democratic Party, and then the Democratic Party could allocate them to the new campaign. But a lot of it is still like, it's experts being like, this could happen, or maybe this could happen, but a lot of it's theoretical. The one thing that people seem to agree on is it's easiest if she's on the ticket.
It is a debatable topic, which means it will surely be debated.
Yes.
It will absolutely surely be debated. The other thing that's being already thrown out there a lot is now there won't have been a primary for whoever this new Democratic presidential candidate is. They won't have been voted into this position. So it'll be a candidate who's running. Obviously, we're going to vote for that person or not for that person for president in the general election. But that's another place that's being hotly debated. Is that, this person's just been appointed by the Democratic Party. Who's behind all of this?
Yes, it's the deep state.
So get ready. It's not going to wind down after Biden steps away.
It's gonna be a mess. So everybody buckle up. But Biden is not the only thing not returning, Bernie. Halo has been canceled at Paramount.
Yeah, Halo got canceled after 2 seasons at Paramount.
So no more Master Chief butts.
And it's really it's kind of sad news for that franchise because this is coming after Fallout, like earlier in the week, was just nominated for how many Emmys? Like 16 or something like that.
Yeah, a
Emmys.
bunch.
Yeah. And so it just goes to show people were trying to figure out the formula for a video game based series. I think really after Halo debuted, Last of Us seemed like the big winner because it was just a absolute direct retelling of the story. Really, if there were any variations in the storyline.
When there were, but they were very minor. They didn't affect the overall story in a material way.
And we all liked it at the time. And I remember thinking at the time, though, it's like, are people going to come back for season 2? Because I feel like I'm just watching the video game, you know? Then Fallout comes along, is very faithful to the overall tone and the world building of the game, and everybody adored this franchise, adored the series. So I think that's going to be the model going forward. Everyone's going to be looking to make a Fallout.
And it's tricky because, man, Microsoft was trying for so long to get Halo to the big screen. I think they were initially looking. They tried movies so many times. Remember, Division 13 something. What was the one that was going to be the Halo movie that then was not the Halo movie?
You're talking
District 13.
District 9.
District 9.
Yeah. You threw me off when you said it. I was like, I'm not going to be able to think of this now that you said that.
I'm sorry.
Neil Blomkamp.
Is District 13, is that Hunger Games? Did I just Hunger Games the aliens anyway?
That didn't start with Neil Blomkamp. It started with Peter Jackson was going to do it. And then he appointed essentially Neil Blomkamp to write it after Alive in Joburg, which is an incredible short film that he made, which then ended up, I think they did a long time of pre-production on Halo. And then that whole project got canned. And then Blomkamp went on to make District 9, and you can see a lot of Halo influences in District 9 as well. There's a sniper rifle in that movie that looks like it is straight out of Halo. And I don't know my sniper rifles. That could be just a real-world sniper rifle, but it was wild to see that thing on screen and go, holy shit, where'd that come from?
But, so they've been trying a really, really long time, finally got this, and oddly enough, it feels like it was just too soon.
It did really well too, like viewer-wise. Like it was the #1 show on Paramount in its first season.
But if it was too expensive to make, does it make up for the budget?
True, that's true. What can you do about it? What can you do?
It can perform really, really well, but does it make up for what it costs to do? So that could be the trick. Do you think they'll ever try to reboot it or rework it or do another series? I mean, I feel like they can. How many times have we rebooted Spider-Man at this point? A lot.
Oh, and I think it would definitely benefit from it as well. I mean, it's like why be out in front of everyone else trying to figure out how to get the video game adaptation formula correct? Here's the thing too. I'm a fan of Halo. There's a lot of people out there that are huge fans of Halo. I think everyone wants to see it get rebooted. I don't think there's anybody who's saying I don't want to see this be remade again or anything like that. I absolutely would go see it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mortgage a 10-acre plot of land in Santa Barbara in order to do it.
You're talking about Kevin Costner, aren't you?
I am. There was this news story this weekend that surfaced about that Kevin Costner could lose his home, Ashley, because of the performance of Horizon.
I guess we should all go see Horizon. We can't have him lose his home.
Excuse me while I'm saying the name of the title. Don't interrupt me, please. Say it with reverence. Yeah, so it was talk that he could lose his home, but did a little bit of a deep dive. This is actually an article from, you'll excuse me, the New York Post, of all places.
The most reputable of posts.
Well, it's kind of
raggy.
Well, this article is also a little gossipy, too. So it's from 2023, back, I guess, when he did this. Kevin Costner has risked his 10-acre oceanfront home to fund $100 million 30-year film. This is by Mary Jacob, June 2nd, 2023. And so, yeah, he could be losing a home, which I think is a good headline because, when people read that, losing their home is the biggest thing. He has an incredibly dense portfolio. I'm going to read you Kevin Costner's exact description of what he did. I've mortgaged 10 acres on the water in Santa Barbara where I was going to build my last house.
So
he
it's
told
just-
the outlet.
Okay.
But I did it without a thought. It has thrown my accountant into a fucking conniption fit. I bet it has. But it's my life, and I believe in the idea and in the story. There's an old adage in Hollywood: don't invest in your own productions because your passion clouds your financial decisions, you know,
Sure.
your judgment.
Yeah, but this has been a passion project for him from the get-go. So I think that was all, that ship sailed.
Yeah, and this is not like his home. This is a piece of land that he was
He thought about
mortgaging.
maybe building on at
It
one
is.
point.
It's like one of those, on the cliffs, looking over the Pacific Ocean in Santa Barbara.
So enough to fund a movie is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a chunky piece of land. But yeah, and he's got, according to this article from 2023, he has a very dense real estate portfolio. So even if he went on to mortgage other properties as well, he's probably doing okay. Probably doing just fine.
Okay.
For instance, it says here, he has another Carpinteria home, which was a 17-acre parcel of land. Costner purchased the estate in 2006 for $28.5 million after jogging past one day and seeing a for sale sign.
As one does.
Yeah. In 2007, he sold 7 acres to a neighbor, but combined his homes to create one seamless estate. In 2017, he briefly listed the compound for $60 million, but later took it off the market.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's, he may have gone on to mortgage other properties. It also here says he has apartments in Los Angeles. That sounds like an investment thing. Yeah. So I don't think Kevin Costner is going to be homeless anytime soon because of the performance of Horizon, An American Saga. Chapter 1.
Well, it's good to know I'll be able to watch it on streaming guilt-free.
I do hope it makes its way in some fashion somewhere where people can watch it, though. Because
Well, the plan is for it to be on premium VOD very shortly, if not already. And then they're going to punt the release of the second one, give this first one time to find more of an audience so that hopefully more people will go to see the second chapter of this saga in theaters.
even if it usurps Yellowstone, that would be a huge win because that's an enormous audience for that show. Probably not the same like matchup in terms of budget, but it would still be a big win.
Yes.
It'd be like the biggest like Western on television or streaming at the time.
Yeah. Look, a Western is a classic genre. It's
Yeah.
not going anywhere.
And Twisters had the biggest live action opening. I didn't know it had Glenn Powell in Twisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's everywhere now. There was an exit poll from Twisters where they said that 25% of the people walking into the theater went to go see the movie because of Glenn Powell.
Really?
So that's a star on the rise, man.
That's stardom happening.
When do you think you first learned Glenn Powell's name?
I can tell you exactly when. It was the gossip, I think, about whether or not he was having an affair with Sydney Sweeney.
I think for a lot of people, that's it.
When they filmed that rom-com.
Yeah. And the story now is that she was the mastermind behind that whole thing. And he actually went and took some time home, went home to his family and just like tried to reset after that. Like he wasn't really part of that. So I think it's a lot of PR at work there.
Sure.
I think the first time I heard about Glenn Powell's name was at the presidential debate. So it was huge. That was huge for a lot of reasons, I think.
Well, because he was in, what was the first big thing you'd have seen him in? It was probably Top Gun Maverick.
I would say Top Gun Maverick. And he was so fucking good. Like he basically had the Val Kilmer part in Top Gun Maverick. He chewed it up, man. He chewed it up. He was awesome.
I'm glad to hear it because the only thing that I've seen him in so far is Hitman on Netflix, and it was not a star maker.
How dare you? That's a Linklater film. We are a Linklater house, babe. You didn't like Hitman?
It was okay, but it ended in a weird place.
I don't endorse Ashley's statements at all. She's not going to have access to the campaign finance funds for a little while here. Support Austin Film, everybody. I actually haven't seen it. I'll have to check it out. Now, listen, not every Linklater film is for everyone. I think a lot of people, Linklater more than most other working revered directors, everyone has a Linklater film that they really like. For a lot of people, it's Dazed and Confused. But everybody has one that's like their favorite. It's almost like the Coen brothers,
Sure.
Like you love Big Lebowski and then you go watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And you're like, what the hell's this? You know what I mean? That doesn't always match up, So I'll have to check it out though.
If you like, I will not stop you.
What else is going on in the world, Ash?
You need more, Bernie?
Sorry. Maybe that was a bad question to ask. Anything else? Any other breaking news? I like when the breaking news in the world now is just more shit breaking. That's all
It's like, oh, it literally broke. It broke.
God, well, good luck, everybody. It's only Monday, so it's got to get better from here, right? Yeah, we'll see. Okay, well, who do we have to thank for getting us through the weekend, Ash?
Today, we would like to thank Daniel L. and Lachlan Harris for getting us off to a strong Monday start. Thank you both for sponsoring this episode of the show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Maybe he should stay out of the mix. All right, well, that does it for us today, July 22nd, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you all will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.